Good morning, Miami and the world. This is Delia Perullera from Florida with take number 12, practice for the Secret Summit International Presentation Talk. So who is the hero in your life? Who is the hero inside you? Let's take a trip to the age of 5, 13, 20, and beyond. And perhaps my recollections will not resonate with your story, but my purpose and mission today is to ignite in you the desire to find what it is that makes you tremble, what makes you excited, what makes you want to do more for you, for the world, and for others. So at 5, where was the girl at 5? Cruising the island of Cuba in a 500 Farline 1958 two-door blue and white with her parents and sister next to her in the back seat, visiting grandparents, cousins, aunts, and uncles during the holidays like Christmas, summer vacations, and birthdays. Until 1959, the island of Cuba lifestyle changed completely, drastically. Before 1959, the 5-year-old experienced fun, affluence, laughter, name it. After 1959, the mother was on fire. She ran and got 4 passports, one for her husband, herself, and her 2 daughters, to flee the island for the land of the free and the brave, the United States. That was intention, but that did not take place, for they endured communism for 7 years until 1967. In 1967, they have no choice but to leave the island via Madrid, Spain. They did not qualify for the freedom flights because they didn't have immediate relatives in the United States, and that was the only way out back then if you had family here. So you had to leave by a third country, and that one was Madrid, Spain. The plane was boarded at 6 p.m. on February, dressed for winter, 6 changes of clothes, plus what they had on, empty pockets. They flew for 19 hours until they landed in Azores, Portugal, first stop, at 6 in the morning. And there, it was waiting for them a big breakfast of eggs and bacon. The plane was full with Cuban exiles who had eaten eggs for the past 7 years. So at the sight of the eggs, they looked the other way. The parents told the girls, at least eat the bread, for we don't know where our next meal is coming from. As I told you earlier, you could not take money out of Cuba back in 67, just your change of clothes and the desire to be free. After they finished their breakfast, they proceeded back into the airplane for the next 5 hours. But before boarding again, they noticed the little window case stores by the airport on their way to the walkway. The older daughter, the one that was 5, was now 13, and she was mesmerized looking at the wallets, keychains, memorabilia, and souvenirs, plus pens inside that window case. The father comes and taps her on the shoulder and says, "Don't worry, for you will have the means to buy whatever you like in that window one day." And he smiled, and she smiled, and they went back in the plane for 5 more hours. An hour before they landed in Paris, the beautiful flight attendant with blonde hair and blue eyes passed a huge tray with Kaiser roll ham and cheese sandwiches. And the father proceeds to put lots of sandwiches in a plastic bag until he cannot fit one more. And he's tightening a knot when the flight attendant looks at him and says, "Sir, only one per person." To which my dad smiles, and proceeds to put the plastic bag with the sandwiches between his coat and his suit. And we landed. And a bus took us from a remote airport, which I don't recall the name, to Orly. As we are exiting the bus, my father is gathering our luggage, 4 pieces, 1 for each person, and he sends the older girl to get a cart to place the luggage in. She goes inside the airport, looks at the train of carts, and realizes she needs coins, which they had none. You know the story already. And she comes out and tells the father, there's no way I can get a cart. You need coins to get the carts released. But then a French lady boards a taxi and leaves her cart on the curb, totally free. Before I could speak, my father grabs the cart, puts the luggage in. We walk inside the airport, and we were a happy family, for we had our luggage secure, we were in a free land, and we had food to last us the next 12 hours. At 12:30 midnight, or 12:30 a.m., we boarded Iberia de Aviación via Madrid, Spain. The flight was quick. Before we were able to buckle our belt, we were landing. It took an hour or less, and we were in Barajas, Madrid, Spain. Going into the airport, a stranger grabs my dad and embraces him in a hug and puts a $5 bill in his pocket. This is like 2 o'clock in the morning. What are the odds to find another Cuban at that time in 1967? Well, it happened that this man knew my grandfather in Cuba and had a boarding house, but it was full to capacity. So he says, I'm going to find you a place to sleep tonight for you and your family. Another friend pulls in and says, Miguel, let me take you to my house for an hour or 2 to celebrate your freedom. We have hors d'oeuvres. So Raimundo took us to his house. We were there till 4 in the morning, eating potato chips, drinking Coca-Cola, having asparagus, sardines, name it, and thinking of old times in Cuba when things were affluent. By 4 in the morning, we went to our new home. We slept until 12 noon the next day, except for Dad, who went to work at a grocery store unloading trucks, and that lasted 2 weeks, for the work was very hard on his back. And his friend came back and said, there's an opportunity for you as a salesman. Not in Madrid, you have to displace yourself to Valencia. Do you want to go for the interview? Which to my dad said yes. My dad was relocated for 5 months, separated from us. We stay in Madrid, eat at the public diner, cook 1 meal a day, that's what we could afford. And Dad was building his business in Valencia until he had enough money to secure an apartment with electricity and groceries. And by May or June of 1967, we moved to Valencia. We were a happy family, living all under one roof, in a free country, with food, clothing, books to read, and a world of wonder. The girls got used to the language and were practicing the Castilian accent. They had friends. The older one read classics and did her nails and learned how to knit out of the knitting machine. The younger one played with the kids in the neighborhood, in the building, and life was great. Then the festivities for the city of Valencia come in February. They last 15 days, and they're called Las Fallas. And what they do is they make these sculptures out of old things to get rid of the old stuff, to welcome the new stuff. And they paper mache all the sculpture and paint it. And they put like messages from present news. And every night they burn one of those sculptures in each corner of the downtown streets. People dance, people sing, people drink wine, beer. It's a lot of fun. Strangers dancing with the strangers, making rounds. It was a lot of fun, and the adrenaline was going very, very high. After 2 weeks of all these festivities, The older girl was floating as in Mary Poppins when they sing the song I Love to Laugh, everybody's floating in the air on the top of the roof. That's how she felt. To her surprise, her father pulls her and says, we had a lot of fun. This has been a great time, but now you're going to the United States. You're leaving in 2 weeks. This was March 15. I left on the 28th. You're leaving in 2 weeks. Can my sister come along? No, you only have one visa and one passport for you. You're going to stay with your mom's relatives. We may come in 3 months, 6 months, to a year. That's what they told us at the consulate. If you don't go ahead, we will never have the opportunity to go to the United States. So imagine the pressure. As an obedient child and being the oldest one, I agree. I couldn't disagree. The plans were already made. He would have made it worse. So off I went to Madrid with my mom and my dad and my sister. 6 hours driving the car to Madrid. And then the next day, taking me to the airport, flying for 7.5 hours, landing in LaGuardia, looking all over the place. And Nan comes up and says, do you have your luggage, in Spanish? I said, no. She goes, well, let's go and look. And this room was like full of luggage and boxes all over the place. She goes, what is your luggage like? I said, I have 3 pieces. I have a 36-inch statue of the Virgin Mary in a box. I have a case with a Spanish guitar, and I have a suitcase, medium size. She goes, well, let's go get it. By the time we found the 3 pieces, maybe 15 minutes had elapsed, and the stuff is put in the bus to go to JFK, and what do you know? When I arrived, it's past 6:30. The plane to Miami left at 6. So they tell me from the Catholic Association, another nun tells me, you have to wait for the next flight at 11:30. I was all alone in this lobby with a magnificent bar on the left, not a soul around but one bartender. At the age of 14, I decided to pull out my $20 that my mother had given me and buy one Coca-Cola, for I didn't eat anything on the plane from Madrid to New York. I was totally dehydrated. So I said, let me drink some water and let me drink a Coke to see if my stomach will settle. Because you can imagine how scary I was in a new country, all alone, missed the plane, still had hope that I would catch the next one. And sure enough, at 11:30, the nun came back and said, now is your time. You're going to Miami. She puts me in the plane, and 2.5 hours later, I land in Miami. The family's frantic. I'm walking the corridor in the Miami International Airport. They don't recognize me. Last time they saw me, I was 4 years old. But then they say, oh, same face, big body, tall girl. Juana Delia. And then I recognized their voices, and I ran to them. And I had the most magnificent, fantastic, wonderful ride home, to their home. And I gave thanks for, yes, I was away from my family. I was in a new country with a new language at 14, but I had a family that had embraced me and opened their arms to receive me. And as I looked at the lights reflecting on the mass of water of Biscayne Bay on both sides of that expressway, I could not help but feel goosebumps all over. And every time I say this, I get goosebumps even at this age. It was like magical. The next day was business. Paperwork, a school registration, exams to take so they could place me on the right grade level. And off I went to public education with 6,000 students at that middle school in 8th grade for 5 months until summer was finished. The following year, I was in a private school. I negotiated my way into private education, and that's another story that I will tell another time. Life was good. My parents arrived that same year, 1968, but in July. And the family, my mom's family, has secured an apartment for them, a 1-bedroom apartment for the family, and they said, we're going to give the deposit and pay the first month, and then you are on your own, so find a job. My parents went to work the next day. They worked in factories for 3 years, either wrapping boxes or checking clothing, Italian clothing, or fixing radio translators for ships, name it. Then my mother went to school and became a teacher, and my father worked 20 years at Pepsi Cola as a vending mechanic. Life was good. 7 years went by, and the older girl graduates from college. She becomes a teacher after working in a grocery store for 6 years. And she also meets her husband, her first husband. They get married. They get relocated after 3 years in Germany, Berlin. That's his mission, his assignment with the army. And we're there for 3 years. The first child is born. We return to the United States, back in Miami, buy our first home, have the second child, and 25 years go by when retirement package explodes. And you can imagine, I gave you a tip. I said 25 years. Divorce hit in our home. And the marriage drifted apart, but the girl always thought that she could work it, except that the partner didn't think so. So divorce did happen. And she was happy as a mother, happy as an educator, happy as a friend, happy as a daughter and a sister, but she was not happy as an ex-wife. She liked the married life. So her family said, since you don't go to bars, you don't go to church, you don't go to parties, go online to a Christian site and see if you can find some companionship. I've heard of people that have met their husbands there. And my sister had a friend at school, because she's also a teacher, that had gotten married by chatting online back in 2002. And this was back in 2004. So I took my profile test in personality. I put my picture, and to my surprise, I did not attract a husband. No. I attracted my first networking opportunity. And I did not know what the heck I was doing, except that I bought in all the way to the top package and traveled around the world and took my parents in a couple of trips. We went to 6 destinations. I got training in every destination. I worked really hard learning how to prospect, but didn't make the money, didn't attract the people that I needed in my organization to make $1 million. So after 10 months, I give up, close my site, and go back to teaching. 6 years went by, and I was never the same. I used all the skills that I learned in networking in my classroom, and I took that school from an F to a B in reading scores. I used to quote every day from Bob Proctor in that class, and that motivated the kids, and many other things that I did that were proactive and made them want to learn and be more, which is what we learn in this industry. Be more, do more, and help more people. Anyway, after 6 years, I said, enough with this. My health is not good. I want to retire. I've put in 34 years in education. I don't see myself in that classroom anymore. I want to do more. So I retired at 58. And 2 months later, I found my second company, which I worked for 4 years. And I met a lot of good people, and I learned a lot. I made 79 accounts. 5 were self-made by the people. The other ones I funded. And I gave people the accounts to work. And of course, when you give things free, what happens? People don't want to do it. So that's the lesson that I learned. But I also got healthier. My arthritis diminished. My thyroid disappeared, the problems that I had. And I became totally healthy. And now I was into videos in my third company. And this was 2016. And I'm doing videos, learning how to do videos. And one day after I finished a video on the following year, an old friend that was in my previous company calls to invite me to lunch, and we never separated. That is my husband today, my second husband. So my life has been transformed by this way of thinking. I didn't mention the 6 superpowers, which I believe, without knowing, I apply to my life to be successful with my marriage, with my friends, with my business, with my grandkids, with my daughter and son, with the family. And these 6 superpowers are imagination, intuition, will, reasoning, perception, let me see if I forgot one, and memory. So I will be very happy to share with you how to put this in use, focus, laser focus, so your life can be transformed and you can enjoy it more, do more, and be more fulfilled. If you like what I said, one of the reasons that I'm doing this presentation today is because through Sharon in 2017, I joined her company, her new company, and we worked really hard at the coffee company. I lost about 95 pounds with them and enrolled 25 people. And then she left the company. And since I followed my friend who gave me the opportunity to grow in this business, I followed her to the present company where I met Rhonda Parker and I met Sean Murphy, and my husband and I became raving fans of his morning call. And during those calls, it occurs to Sean that he's going to create an academy to teach us how to be successful in business, especially in this industry. And we go for 7 weeks, and the culmination activity, as you know, is the presentation that we're doing here today. So this is the reason that I'm here, talking about my life, my success, the hero inside me, which tells you that there's a hero inside you. Hopefully my talk can inspire you to take you back to 5, 13, 20, and beyond, where you did things in your life that only heroes do. Because heroes, before they go on the walls, they're people normal, just like you and me. And that's what I want to ignite in you, that you have everything that it takes to be successful and to take you where you want to go. There's a reason why you're watching these videos. You want to do more. So you have it inside you, and I want to motivate you. If you want to get in touch with me through this platform, you can write me an email and ask for the 6 superpowers. I am a life coach. I am a school teacher that tutors online also. And I'm also here to help you succeed in whatever it is that you want to transform in your life. Have a wonderful day. God bless you. Delia from Miami.